So bread is bread and cheese is cheese. We can all get on with the rest of our day. What should have happened, Danny, on the field of play when we saw Son go down like a sack of cement?
Well, for me, the officials, again, have missed a wonderful opportunity to set a precedent and set an example to stop players diving around for any contact.
Yeah.
I thought when he looked at it again, he should have said, look, it's a goal. Get up. Crack on. It's nothing. It's like, all right, a little flick in the face. It's just... I mean, if that's a foul, Gazza would have never been a footballer.
Yeah, exactly.
It's... I'm not... Look, sometimes you can get minimal contact and hurt yourself. I had a nail in my eye once. It was minimal contact, and I could have looked like I was being a bit over the top. And maybe he got caught in the eye, maybe it hurt him a little bit, but your legs don't stop working.
Mm.
I've had elbows in the face with my bones showing on the pitch and still not been down.
Yeah.
When you get hit in the head, your legs still work. But what's happened is that it's a mindset of footballers that you'll go down to get the decision and you'll shout and scream. I mean, there's one thing this lockdown showed, the amount of screaming and shouting has been elevated. People are going, wow, what is that noise coming from that player?
Yes.
So It was never, ever a foul. Should never have been given a foul. But more importantly, and a bit like the Foden one a few weeks ago, the referees have missed a wonderful opportunity to set another example and say, I'm not putting up with it. Rolling around like an idiot, embarrassing yourself for minimal get up.
Sure.
They've missed again an opportunity, and that's because a lot of these officials are so worried about, I'm getting it right, am I getting it wrong, what's the rules say? They haven't played the game, they don't understand it. Every time you go past the play, you naturally put your arm out to try and feel them, see where they come in. I've got him there. If he comes, I can push him away. It was nonsense. It was a ridiculous decision.
And what about what Son did? I mean, clearly he was not right to do what he did, in your view.
I don't blame him. I don't blame Son. And
if he stayed on his feet, then there's no.
If he stays on his feet, he doesn't get the foul. If you stay on your feet, you don't get the pen. If you stay on your feet, then you don't get the lad sent off. If you stay on your feet, you don't get the yellow card.
How about staying on your feet because it's the honest thing to do?
But because the game, things have evolved too much, where players are trying to do anything to win football matches. And there's this argument we're going to start again where you say, is it the officials' responsibility or is it the players and the coaches' responsibility? Well, the coaches and the players are not going to become... their moral compass isn't going to all of a sudden point in the right direction when it's going to be detrimental to their position in the table or winning trophies. The officials can start by setting the boundaries. And we've talked about this many times, where, not just Son, loads of times this season, where is the punishment afterwards when players... I mean, I think it's.
I agree with you. The official could have said, "Look, we're not having that."
It's such an easy opportunity to show the world and go, "I'm not putting up with that." Yeah. Even if he'd laughed at the camera and gone,
"Goal
whatever.
Stands." But I mean, how are we going to get around it, Simon? Because the referee went through the appropriate process.
Yeah. You only get round it by not giving decisions for players and doing elaborate diving.
You've got two referees. You've got the video assistant referee, and you've got the referee on the pitch that have come to a conclusion. And unless football is going to start supporting referees to some extent and saying, OK, we don't like that decision, but you've made a decision, we're going to stick by it, you're not going to change the culture of empowering these referees. On one hand, you've got Danny suggesting that it's a ridiculous foul. On the other hand, you're suggesting that how can you blame them for doing it? So you either want to up the level. I mean, it's embarrassing what players do. Going back to Rivaldo in the World Cup, to Rashford earlier in the game. I remember seeing the video of Sam Allardyce bursting out laughing at Chico Flores, right? Yeah, because that's the contempt it deserves. It's pitiful. The problem with football is it doesn't like what it's got. The manager's now complaining about VAR. You wanted it. You kept on and on and on and on, peeing and moaning about every single decision and every single thing that's got wrong. And now you've got VAR, you've got this additional level of scrutiny. Be careful what you wish for in life. Yeah, because ultimately what you've now got is you reap what you sow. You've got ridiculous over-egging of the pudding. You've got stupid decisions being made by referees because they don't know whether they're Arthur or Martha, because they're constantly being demeaned, demasculated or demoralised by football management, football media, football mafia, constantly pulling them down, and they're not strong enough in their own right. So you've got this situation where we are now reaping the whirlwind. All these Berks on television that sit there like Gary Lineker going, "Oh, I can't bear it, I can't bear it." You're the guys and the reasons why half of these things are here now. Because we've never accepted the authority on the pitch. We've constantly criticised the notion that things are wrong. And now we've got this ridiculous VAR that's being brought in by bureaucrats that are not looking at it properly, and here we land.
But I don't think anybody's suggesting that. I mean, most people thought this would improve things and give us a more fair game. Would that be fair? I think so. I don't think we envisaged the problems that it's given us. So
I don't think anyone gave it a moment's fault.
But what I would say, Simon, is that we're allowed to try things and get it wrong in life. We're talking about focusing the mind earlier.
You're right, but we're not. There's a section. There's a section of you're absolutely right. There's an irony in what you're saying, which is we are, but we're really not.
Why not?
Because ultimately, the moment VAR has made a wrong decision, everyone's been on it since the get-go. The first wrong decision that VAR had, people had made their minds up. This was a dreadful, toxic thing, and that was the end of the discussion. They really did. There was a narrative built up very, very quickly amongst certain elements of either the football fraternity itself or segments of the media that this was a wrong thing to have happened. You know, and we're now getting into the scenario where we are micromanaging every single decision. Yes, of course. My first reaction to Son was, I didn't know if he got caught in the eye. I don't know if he got caught in the eye, and ultimately, it is the whole...
But your legs don't stop working.
No, of course they don't, but it's the whole culture. They're all at it.
I know, I said that.
I honestly don't know how Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's got the gall to come out so offended when he's got players like Martial that go down like they've been shot from film Platoon on a regular basis.
But
they've all at it.
We've deviated. We've gone from VAR. I'm talking about the levels of the officials and their ability to make good decisions before we get to VAR. I'm saying that was such an obvious, wonderful opportunity because he had the guy said in his ear, go and have a look. He's gone to have a look. When he's had a look at it, he's had the opportunity to see what we've seen and go, come on. Like, it's not a difficult one. It's really not a difficult one.
But should it be up to referees to attempt to stop players cheating?
It's up to referees to make simple decisions and get them right. That is a simple decision.
You see, the product we're not watching
ridiculous.
It becomes no longer genuine. At half-time, Keane, Richards and Jamie on Sky, it's a nonsense. It's an absolute nonsense.
Well, they're right.
So what are we watching?
Well, look, VAR has added to the confusion of the officials, that's for sure. But my point on this particular occasion, you know how much I hate VAR. I'm not jumping on VAR at the minute. I'm jumping on the officials being able to see very obvious things. This ain't a 50-50. This ain't a grey area. This ain't somebody's opinion against somebody else. That's a nonsense. That's ridiculous.
But as usual, you're not pointing the finger at the players.
But it's too...
I am. I've always said I hate diving, Jim. I never dived in my life. But we can't expect players to rid the game of this ahead of the officials.
So if someone wasn't mortally
wounded
wounded yesterday, Danny, if he'd
have stayed on his feet, the goal would have been given.
Why didn't he?
Because he's in that culture now of, I know by going down I've got a chance of getting a free kick and stopping that attack. In his head already, subconscious.
It's got to stop, surely.
I hope to God.
Got to stop.
I hope to God. I'm with you. I'm on your page.
No wonder Cavani is thinking about going back to South America.
What are we looking for? Solutions? Yes.
Yeah.
What can be the solutions? It's not going to be the players going, I'm changing my morals.
If we can see this as clear as a light bulb, right, why can't the PGMOL see it? Why isn't it being implemented? Because we're all sitting here with this wonderful set of theories about it's so simple to resolve. If it's so simple to resolve, why isn't it being resolved?
Because the people sitting at Stockley Park and the officials who are involved in it aren't adequate. They haven't played the game.
Simon,
and they
let's talk about this. The other side of that break.
They don't want.
Does the responsibility lie with the players or does it lie with
everybody?
The officials?
But the officials have to start it.
Okay.
Look, you can accidentally do an overhead kick in the box and not see the guy coming to head it and break his jaw and knock his teeth out with a volley. You know, it's not about accidental. It's giving it context when you see an incident and understanding football. You know, you're not gonna. The guy who accidentally kicks someone's teeth out when he does an overhead kick, you're not gonna come on air and say he's a horrible, nasty player. And
No.
You're gonna say it for what it is. Yes, he got sent off.
Aren't the majority of fouls accidental? There's a few that they are, Danny. I mean, there's a few professional fouls and considered fouls, but nobody looks to bring somebody down in a box because they know a penalty's coming.
Oh, not in the box, no.
Right. So
the accidental thing isn't relevant, is it?
No, not really.
No, that's what I said.
But that's the point, then, isn't it? So if McTominay's pulling away and flicks back, what's accidental got to do with it?
Well, it hasn't really.
So
what's more important is the actual act of the accident. Is it detrimental to the lad? Did it warrant going down like he did?
We're moving the territory along. We've now got very quick responses Look at the progress that's happening. Whether we like it or we don't, we get almost instantaneous responses now from the PGMOL as to reasons why decisions are made. All of a sudden, football is really changing along the lines of communication, because the bigger thing was they make a decision, no one knows why that decision was made. That decision that was made was pretty much announced instantaneously to the broadcaster, so the broadcaster could tell the end user. Whether people agree with it or not is another matter. You either want these referees to be empowered or you don't.
True,
and they're going to make
true.
mistakes. And the fact that they make mistakes, and the pile-on and the scrutiny and the vilification and the vitriol that the game pours upon them will, in fact, diminish some of the courage of the convictions that we want. I don't believe that should be the case. I believe that they should have the balls to stand by their own decision. And quite like you say, who cares if someone's in my ear? I'll make my own mind up. Thanks
Exactly.
very much.
That's what it needs,
But the world's not full of leaders, Jim. The world's
No.
full of lemons.
Yeah.
Right? Most people aren't leaders. That's why when you see a leader, they're so exceptional.
See, it would have been so good yesterday if Kavanagh, being so close to that moment, had said to Stockley Park, I know what you're saying, but I was close to it. It's
No
nothing.
chance, yeah.
It's nothing. It's nothing. Believe me. And that great moment, the goal could have stood. And the goal is why we all watch.
Look, we've had nearly a century, haven't we, of referees making mistakes and debate and things. Football is being what it is.
See, his
and
point is-
nobody's said anything too negative or derogatory about it, and then we've evolved into this analysation.
People were giving referees death threats
analysis,
3
sorry.
years ago.
What?
People were absolutely mullering
Still
referees.
getting death threats now.
But for different reasons, because the VAR protocol isn't operating the way it could or should be. Whatever you do with this, it's like nailing a jelly to the wall. Right? Whatever you try and do, it doesn't work because it'll be a cause and effect.
Simon, can I throw one in? Would it not have been better for Mourinho yesterday, and I'm not piling onto Mourinho, to have said yesterday, do you know what? Yeah. Looking at it again, there was really no need for my player, Son, to go down like that.
Wouldn't it have been better for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to say, this is systemic in our game, we're all guilty of it, I think it's appalling that Son's done it,
Yeah.
but I've got a problem in my dressing room as well. Would he say that?
So
Would they say that? Because of course they're not going to say it, because they're all about
yeah, but we
themselves at that
accept that
moment.
we need them to start, just manning up and saying
But
things
I
like
made
that.
the point with Danny, and this ideal world that we do not live in, right? The culture of diving originates in the player's psyche, and it's perpetuated by their own managers, allowing them to do it on a week-by-week basis. Can you imagine a scenario where ex-manager pulls Y player in his office and says to him, I am sick and tired of you diving in the box, right? It's a scourge of the game. Cut it out.
Yeah.
Because that's what you should have.
Yeah.
But in the real world, where events overtake and outcomes are more prevalent, that's not going to happen. And then you're asking the referees to unpick a culture of deceit and liberty. Why should they have to unpick that culture? Why shouldn't the managers be culpable and the players responsible for their own conduct?
Totally
Because
agree.
that's not realistic.
But that's my point. But it doesn't make it wrong, does
It's like
it?
asking criminals to start behaving.
Well,
That's why you've got the police and the
But-
judges
but no,
and
it's-
the
but it's
and the
rehabilitation.
solicitors.
But it's
Danny, it's
rehabilitation,
asking
isn't it?
managers to have responsibility. Be
Jim,
responsible.
you're
This
a man,
is your
you're a
job.
manager of a football club. You're trying to create a legacy for yourself and the team. You want to be remembered forever for winning a trophy with that club, winning a league, staying in the league, getting promoted, whatever it may be. Are you going to start telling your players to be morally correct and at your own detriment, at your own financial detriment if you get the sack, and your own legacy being tarnished for getting the sack because you've missed out on winning an FA Cup final or winning a promotion to the
So what's more
Premier League?
important, legacy or integrity?
What's more important to the
What's more
managers and the
important?
players? Millions of pounds in the bank and winning medals.
What's more important, legacy or integrity?
For them, legacy.
Well, in a business that has very little of the integrity,
Legacy.
probably the legacy. If you're the only person in a room with integrity and everyone else hasn't got it, then you're going to walk out empty-handed.
It takes me back to watching Chelsea against Bayern Munich in the Champions League final at the Troon Marine Hotel in Scotland, and a bunch of Super League lads were up there playing golf at Royal Troon. You know exactly where I'm, Danny.
Yeah.
And they, like everybody else, were in the bar watching the game. And were falling about laughing, mimicking players who, if blown over, were going down mortally wounded. Get up, lad! Oh, God. Have you seen that? It is awful. It is embarrassing.
The players
It
don't
can't
care,
go
Jim.
on.
I agree with you.
Players
But
don't care.
there's no shame factor. You look at it and go, for the love of God. It's
Yeah.
like that scene when Tony Bellew fights David Hay. You're wearing an Alice band, man, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
You've got
Yeah.
these players falling around like little schoolgirls. But they don't care. They don't care. There's no embarrassment. Rivaldo at international football at the highest level, falling over in a corner when no one went anywhere near him.
Well, it was the-
This is the
pretended to,
culture
yeah.
of football.
And again, Danny, what we're watching when we hear Keane Richard and Jimmy Redknapp at half-time saying that was a nonsense. What are we watching?
Well, I think we've got to be careful. Look, it's not just Son, is it? The last couple of seasons we're talking about simulation, diving, players getting other players sent off, players trying to manipulate referees and con referees. I hate it. Most people don't like it. If we could find a solution to it, great. But as you said, it's highly unlikely.
But mate, you've sat there this morning though and said that Son did the right thing.
No, I said I don't blame him.
But then, Danny, you're having your cake and eat it. He needs to be blamed. You can't say you don't blame him. He needs to be blamed. He needs to be told, you are a disgrace. He needs to be told by the current game.
It's
he needs
too
to be
far
told by
gone
the.
to
He needs to be
expect the
told.
player.
Well, nothing's too far gone. Everything is recoverable. Depends how much of the courage of your convictions you actually have.
What I'm saying is Son has been for a long time that type of player. There's lots of players like him who go down too easily and stay down because they're used to doing it. It's in their subconscious, in their psyche. Like, why would you go down when you get a little knock in the eye? It's because subconsciously he knows he'll get a...
If these referees really ramped up the narrative and really ramped up their actions and decided to take real action, the same managers that were screaming about simulation would be screaming about players being sent off.
Yeah.
So what?
They would be.
So what?
But that's what we're doing now. There's noise about a player falling over, and the noise is raising its level.
Simon, now we know though, your player goes down too easily in the game, mate. Yeah, I know, but I've got to think about my legacy. This is what it's all about. It's 11 o'clock.